Okay, so let's let's try and unpack this because the whole cinema business model right now, it feels like a complete paradox.
It really does.
I mean, if you follow the box office at all, attendance, well, the number of people actually going, it's lagging big time.
Yeah, in key markets especially.
Right, like Cineplex attendance dropped, what, over 10% just year over year in 2024? That's huge.
That is a massive structural contraction.
Yeah.
Fewer tickets sold, plain and simple.
Exactly. But then, and this is the weird part, their money metrics. They're setting all-time records. We're talking box office revenue per patron BPP and concession per patron CPP.
Yep.
Higher than ever.
It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? Fewer people, but more money from each one.
So for anyone just, going to the movies, watching theaters get smaller maybe, and prices definitely going up, it feels like the whole mission has just flipped.
It absolutely has. This is what we're calling the event economy model. The industry's basically stopped trying to just get as many bodies through the door as possible. Instead, the focus now is maximizing the yield from each customer who does show up.
So forget volume, go for value extraction.
Pretty much. Premium revenue from a smaller, but maybe more committed core audience.
Which means if you are one of those loyal moviegoers, you're the yield engine now.
You are. You're shouldering the cost, essentially. Paying for those premium tickets, that very expensive popcorn.
Right. So why? Why this strategy? To get that, we got to look at what's actually being made, right? The movies themselves.
Definitely.
Have you noticed how hard it is to find just a certain kind of movie these days?
Oh, absolutely. The industry is really only serving extremes now.
Extremes?
Yeah, studios, they've got this extreme strategy. Either they pour money into these massive, sprawling blockbuster.
For tentpoles, the franchises, the MCU kind of stuff.
Exactly. Things that feel like a safe bet, spectacular, reliable returns, hopefully. Or they go the other way. Ultra low-budget indie films.
It's like you said, extremes. It's like Hollywood's menu is just, I don't know, giant gourmet steaks or instant noodles.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But what happened to the middle? The really solid mid-budget movies, big enough for the cinema, but not needing like 7 sequels in a TV show?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Stuff like, I don't know, The Breakfast Club back in the day, or The Fugitive. Great movies.
They've kind of become relics, unfortunately. That middle ground, financially, it's just seen as too risky now.
Risky? How?
Well, studios are pretty risk-averse. Think about it. If they spend, say, $50 million on an original idea, and it does okay, just moderately well,
yeah,
that okay return often gets viewed as a failure compared to the almost guaranteed floor you get from a big known franchise movie. Even if that franchise film isn't amazing, it still brings in baseline cash.
So the safe bet wins, even if it's less interesting.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
The predictable return is king.
Okay, but if the whole North American production machine is so focused on just a handful of these monster hits, isn't that a huge risk in itself? Like putting all your eggs in one giant expensive basket?
It absolutely is. It's a potential single point of failure.
We saw that during the Hollywood strikes, didn't we? The content pipeline slows down even a little.
And bam, footfalls just collapse because there's nothing else, none of those mid-range films to fill the gaps on the schedule.
So that raises a big question for the theaters, the exhibitors, right? If your main supplier, Hollywood, is kind of brittle, where do you find stability? How do you keep the lights on consistently?
That's the million-dollar question, or maybe $1 billion these days, and the answer might lie elsewhere.
Let's look globally then, because while North America is dealing with this content roller coaster, some other places seem way more stable. India, for example.
Right, the Indian market. Really interesting case study.
In 2024, their total box office had its second best year ever. Grossing, what was it? 11,833 crore? That's huge.
Massive numbers. And what's really fascinating when you dig into that is that even within that huge success, Hindi cinema itself, Bollywood basically, actually saw a decline, about 13%.
Okay, so the biggest piece shrunk, but the whole pie still grew. How does that work?
It came from, forced diversification, you could call it, and localization.
Meaning?
Regional cinema really stepped up, like Malayalam cinema from Kerala. It doubled its market share. Huge growth.
So it wasn't just one type of film carrying the load.
Exactly. And this isn't just a local story for India. It's a lesson, I think, for exhibitors everywhere about content strategy. You can't rely on just one source.
And it gets better, right? The localization part.
Precisely. Almost a third, 31% of the money made by Hindi films actually came from dubbed versions of South Indian movies. High-quality dubs, mind you.
So they took hits from one region and successfully rolled them out nationally.
Maximize the reach. That's how a film like Pushpa 2. The Rule, a Telugu film from the South, became the biggest movie in all of India in 2024.
Okay, so the takeaway for theaters globally is you need a plan B. You need to look beyond Hollywood.
You need to be proactive. Actively look for, acquire, and importantly, localize these regional event films really well. It's a strategic buffer against Hollywood's ups and downs.
Right, so Hollywood supply is shaky, but the theaters still need to maximize that yield per person. Which brings us back to the core of this event economy. If attendance is down, what's the one thing really driving that BPP, the revenue per person, so high?
The silver bullet. It's the premium large format, PLF.
IMAX, Dolby Cinema, all those fancy big screens with the booming sound.
Exactly. That stuff isn't just an upgrade anymore. It's not a nice-to-have. It is the core product. It's the engine driving the finances.
And the stats on this are pretty nuts, right?
They really are. For Cineplex, again, in 2024, get this, 41.6% of their entire box office revenue came just from premium format tickets.
Wow, nearly half the money from just the expensive seats.
Think about that. It basically proves that the value pitch is working. People are willing to pay more.
If the experience is demonstrably better.
Exactly. If it's technologically undeniable. That's why investing in the best screens, the best sound, maybe even better seats, it's not just fluff, it's critical.
Okay, but who is paying these prices? Who's this core audience driving almost half the revenue?
Well, demographically, it points very clearly to the future. Gen Z.
Ages 18 to 34, roughly.
Yep. And their preference for premium formats, it jumps way up. 79% prefer PLF. That's much higher than older groups.
Okay, so the younger audience wants the premium experience. But are they actually going to the movies often enough?
That's the crucial part. Yes, they are. Gen Z goes to the movies more often than any other demographic. A third of them, 33%, go several times a month.
So wait, the group that goes the most often is also the group that most prefers the most expensive ticket.
Bingo. It's a perfect convergence for the event economy model.
Yeah.
The highest frequency attendees want the highest yield product.
Which means if you're an exhibitor and you don't invest heavily in PLF,
You're basically choosing to ignore the audience segment that holds the key to your future stability. You're leaving money and loyalty on the table.
okay, let's circle back to that main paradox then. Record yield, depressed attendance, the specific numbers really drive it home. BPP hit $13.09.
Record high.
And concession per patron, CPP, also a record at $9.47.
Which shows, okay, the people who are still coming, they're motivated. They're willing to pay these premium prices, both for the ticket and the snacks.
So the industry has pricing power. That's the good news for them, I guess.
It is, but if concession spending is so high that $9.47 per person, is everyone happy about that? Or is there some tension hiding under the surface?
That feels a bit off. You'd think if someone's shelling out for a $20 plus PLF ticket, another $10 for popcorn isn't a deal breaker.
And yet, this is kind of the hidden friction, the little Easter egg in this deep dive maybe.
Go on.
While that $9.47 CPP is a record high overall, it actually masks some pretty significant resistance, especially from that key group we just talked about.
Gen Z again?
Gen Z again, get this. A whopping 67% of Gen Zers admit to actively sneaking food into the theater to save money.
67%. Two-thirds.
Compare that to, say, baby boomers, where it's still significant but lower, around 48%.
Wow. So the most frequent moviegoers, the future core audience, are actively trying to bypass the concession stand two-thirds of the time.
It suggests that while the average spend is high, likely driven by people buying a lot during big event movies, the regular frequent moviegoer feels that pinch. They're signaling that, yeah, those prices are a barrier.
So that $9.47 average is hiding a lot of people spending zero.
Quite possibly. The major dilemma for theaters. Concessions are absolutely vital. Financially, they bring in over a third of total revenue sometimes.
Huge margins on popcorn and soda.
Exactly. But that high markup is clearly creating behavioral friction with the very audience they need to keep coming back regularly.
So how do they fix that? How do you ease the cost pain without just slashing prices on high-margin items?
Well, the main strategy we're seeing emerge is subscription models.
Like AMC Stubs, A-List, Regal Unlimited, that kind of thing?
Precisely. These models try to solve the friction differently. They drive frequency by basically making the premium experience the default.
How so?
Well, you'd pay a higher monthly fee, sure. But in return, that PLF upcharge, the extra cost for IMAX or Dolby, it disappears for members.
Yeah.
Premium viewing becomes normalized.
Ah, so it stops feeling like a special, expensive purchase each time. It's
Yeah,
just how you see movies now.
exactly. It shifts the perception. Plus, things like dynamic pricing, where tickets might be cheaper on a Tuesday afternoon, or credit systems like MoviePass tried, they also aim to lower that perceived cost barrier, make the whole outing feel like better value.
Okay, so they're tackling cost friction with models. But we focused a lot on money. Isn't there another big friction point?
Oh, absolutely. Perhaps the biggest one, and the hardest to solve. Time.
Time.
Yeah, think about the total consumer friction.
Right.
In a world dominated by TikTok, YouTube Shorts, instant gratification platforms delivering content in seconds,
Right.
the sheer commitment of time required for a movie is a massive hurdle.
Especially now, blockbusters keep getting longer, don't they?
They do. Many easily pass 2 hours. Factor in ads and trailers, you're often looking at closer to 3 hours in that seat.
3 hours, plus travel time, maybe parking.
And that huge time commitment slams right up against the shrinking theatrical window.
Which used to be like 90 days standard, right? Now it feels like.
Way shorter, often just 17 to 45 days before that same movie pops up on streaming.
So the calculation for the audience member becomes, is this 3 hour plus commitment plus the high cost worth it right now? When I know I can watch it at home, cheaper, in just a few weeks.
Exactly. The theatrical event has to justify that time investment. It needs to feel temporally essential, not just financially viable.
Okay, so pulling this all together,
Right.
what's the cinema of 2030 look like if we recap the big structural shifts?
I think the future is definitely smaller, footprint-wise, but much more financially optimized.
Meaning fewer theaters overall.
Yeah, expect significant infrastructure contraction.
Yeah.
We'll likely see a move towards more centralized, really premiumized venues, places that deliver an experience that's just technologically miles ahead of home viewing.
And the way we pay will change too. No more just buying a ticket at the counter.
Fixed ticketing feels like it's on the way out. It'll likely be replaced by much more sophisticated dynamic pricing, prices changing based on demand, time of day, type of seat.
And those subscription models we talked about baked right in.
Absolutely. Especially models that make PLF the standard for loyal members, locking in that crucial Gen Z audience.
So survival really hinges on proving value then.
Undeniable value. It has to be technologically superior, it needs to feel like a social event, something special, and it has to feel worth the time commitment to overcome all that friction.
Okay, final thought. As Hollywood keeps making fewer of those mid-budget movies, leaving gaps in the schedule, how do theaters fill that void if they can't rely on the studios for a constant stream of content?
Yeah, that's the big operational challenge going forward. They can't just be passive landlords waiting for Hollywood to deliver a film.
They need to become curators.
Active curators, exactly.
Yeah.
They need to go out and find, acquire, program those high-quality, non-franchise films that feel like an event, even if they aren't blockbusters.
Like those successful international films we saw from India. Bring those in. Localize them well.
Precisely. Leverage global successes, but maybe even more strategically. They need to maximize the yield on their existing expensive PLF infrastructure, especially during those inevitable content lulls.
How? By showing what? Rerun?
Maybe sometimes, but think bigger. Event-dize non-film content, concert broadcasts, big sporting events, even competitive gaming tournaments, esports.
Wait, so my local multiplex with its fancy screen and sound might host a Major League of Legends final before it shows the next superhero movie.
Why not? If it fills seats, utilizes that premium tech, and generates revenue when there isn't a big movie out.
Absolutely.
It's all about maximizing yield on the assets you have.
An event economy indeed. Wow, lots to think about there. And you know, every insight gets deeper on the second listen, so make sure you save this deep dive in your library. Join us next time as we explore the fascinating business models behind the latest cinematic audio systems. We'll show you exactly how technology is driving the price of sophisticated audio down for exhibitors, with some systems offering up to 50% savings compared to their competitors for smaller theaters to upgrade, but not necessarily for you, the moviegoer. See you then.